Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Super Paranormal Chronicles. My name's Lee. I'm the host, in case any of you forgot. And tonight, I am delighted to have Brandon and Mitch from Haunted US.
Hey,
Brandon,
Lee.
Mitch, good evening.
Hi.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Can't complain. Because there's no point in complaining because people never listen.
That's true. I feel like in your line of work, it's kind of only people listening, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of like it goes in one ear and out the other.
Oh, there you go. All right. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Okay, so before we start talking about why we're here tonight, can you guys both not at the same time because it gets confusing, talk about how you first got interested in the paranormal?
Sure. Mitch, do you want to go first?
Sure.
Oh, that was like throwing you under the bus straight away.
Oh, it's totally out of respect. Just wait. His story is so much better than mine. I always feel like crap going after him. So it's me owning it. It's me throwing me under the bus.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was never really a believer in the paranormal or ghosts growing up or anything like that. I didn't watch any of the TV shows. I might have seen maybe an episode or two of Ghost Hunters along the way, but I never really put much stock in anything spooky or strange. And that was basically it. That's all the thought I gave to it growing up initially. But then I ended up just moving in next door to a ghost hunter and a friend of mine, essentially a family of ghost hunters. And it was my first real opportunity to realize there are people out there that actually do that stuff. That it's not just, TV cameras. There are people who go out there with no cameras and just try and find ghosts. And that was a fascinating concept to me at the time. At 14-year-old me, just flabbergasted by the idea that people would do this. And a few months after I moved in, they invited me on an investigation. We were going to go to an abandoned bar and restaurant that was built into an old mansion in a community close to mine. And I thought, okay, I don't really have any other plan for this Saturday, so let's go hunt some ghosts. And so we went out to this old, spooky, abandoned restaurant. It really did look like an old mansion on the outside, but as soon as you walked in, it was just classic, wide open restaurant space, big bar, kind of tacky early 90s carpeting, just classic kind of dive bar-y situation. So it was a very fascinating, very grungy, gross, grimy building that was apparently extremely haunted. So I was excited to, see what I could see of something I'd never really believed in before. And so we quickly got to investigating, and well, I really got to watching. We set up on the second floor dining room, which was essentially the entire second floor of this mansion, just cleared out, wide open space with a sort of server station in the middle. And the team was setting up these EMF detectors, which are very familiar to me now, but were very foreign to me then. Just devices with little needles on them that jumped back and forth, and they made noise and they lit up. So, okay. And they put these basically in the corners of this wide open space. So you couldn't really see them through the dark, but whenever anything would get close to them, they would make noise, and you would know that something was happening over in that corner. And so they set those up, and they got to doing an EVP session, the audio recording process of ghost hunting. And they got to the EVP process, asking questions out to seemingly nobody, just dead air, and awaiting responses. And they had an extra tool to sort of help make sense of what was kind of very odd to someone like me. They had a little bionic ear kind of device, an extra microphone that you could stick right in your ear, and it would enhance the audio around you. So I gave that a try. I sat on the main staircase to the building and just kind of listened. And as they gave their their questions and their long stretches of quiet, I started to hear things from down on the first floor, like almost like overlapping conversations. Like the dining room down there was full of people, but of course I could kind of see it through the darkness. It was just as empty as when we walked in there, but I swear I could hear all of that going on, like it was a packed house on a prime dinner evening.
That's cool.
And shortly after that, a sound kind of distracted everybody from that. One of it sounded like one of the EMF detectors going off in one of the far corners. This very high pitched whining sound that the old EMF detectors used to make. And so everybody dropped what they were doing and rushed over that way to try and figure out what was going on. And the owner of the EMF detector picked it up and shined a flashlight to try and see what it was reading, and it wasn't reading anything. The sound wasn't coming from the EMF detector, and everybody took that moment to kind of listen a little closer to what this sound was, and nobody could really place where it was coming from. It was kind of coming from everywhere all at once. And the more we listened to it, the more we realized it wasn't this mechanical whining sound. It was more of a distant screaming sound. And we tried to find the source of this sound for about the next 30 seconds to a minute, and we never could. And then it just kind of disappeared just as fast as it showed up. And as paranormal locations sometimes are said to do, the activity sort of died out right there. But that was enough for young impressionable me to be impressed by the experience. And so I've been interested in this kind of spooky, scary stuff ever since. I've been exploring as much as I can.
So, what was kind of your expectations for that night? Did you really have any, or did you just go, "This is going to be something cool. I don't know what to expect. Bring it on"?
So I didn't really mind the ghost part too much at all, but I knew I was interested in, kind of creepy abandoned places. Like I liked a good abandoned building. I was a wannabe urban spelunker. So they said it was going to be a abandoned restaurant down in this community. I'm like, okay, at the very least, I'll get to see the inside of this old restaurant, this old mansion house. So at the very least, I get to see this place. So I was excited just to see the place. I really, really did not expect anything at all to happen. So the fact that two kind of, interesting and unexplained things did happen was initially just kind of icing on the cake, but over time it became the cake.
And you kind of gone from there upwards.
Yep, ever since.
Okay, I expect from you, Brandon, something just as good. Don't disappoint me.
I can't do it for you, Lee. But I will give you the story. So growing up, I lived in a house that my family believed to be haunted, and had a really kind of specific experience. This house was actually owned by my grandparents. It was my mother's childhood home as well. And we moved in when I was maybe 9 or 10. And starting at that time, about twice a week, someone would bang on my door, like flat fisted pounding on my door, and then run down the hall to my sister's room. So, of course, knowing it was my sister, I'd go and bang on her door and be like, "What are you doing? Stop it," as siblings who are 5 years apart tend to do. And this went on. It went on for years. I think about 3-4 years that happened. And years later, we had moved out of the house. I'm in my 20s, and my mom and my sister and I are sitting down at some holiday celebration. We're having drinks, and I'm like, "Yeah, remember when you used to like knock on my door and run away?" And my sister looks at me with the most frustrated look, and she says, "I never did that. I do not understand why you were always asking me about it. Seriously, it never happened once." And my mom goes white. And she said, you heard someone knocking on your door? Apparently, I'd never told her about this, or she was too busy to hear. But ultimately, she says, "Wait a minute. When I was a kid in that house, there was one day when I got home from school, and my brother, who was usually home at the same time, was in his room, and I went to use the restroom. I started that process, and he knocked on the door. And I was like, I'm in here, you know? And she goes back to starting that process. And there's another knock. And she's like, listen, man, I will let you know when I'm done. This is not going to make anything go any faster. And she's back to centering herself to get the deed done. And one more knock on the door. And she's like, I will come get you. I will give you personalized service here. I will knock on your door and let you know when I'm done. And she finishes up. She goes, she bangs on her brother's door, which happened to be my sister's room in the future, says, I'm out of the bathroom. And she walks into the kitchen. And at that exact moment, my grandmother and her brother, who she thought was in the house, pulled up in the car. So she was alone in the house when this happened. And the same knocking on the door happened to me 30 years later.
That's crazy. And
Yeah.
do you have any explanation of why this happened?
Why, Lee, ghosts. That would be my explanation. I don't know. It's tough. When I look at it, it's tough for me to say anything is like 100% a ghost, or paranormal, I should say. In this instance, memory's faulty. Our brains like to fill in blanks and all that sort of stuff. My mom's story was 30 years older than mine when she told it, and mine was 10 years old when I told it to her. So ultimately, could it be misremembered? Could it be a kid, in his room, scared, hearing knocking noises that are like totally normal pipes or something? Yeah, absolutely. But it's a weird coincidence.
Absolutely. And this is what I always tell people. You can talk to a dozen different people. They all may have a ghost story, but each story is totally different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because it's and I've told this many times before, that my first real influence into the paranormal, paramedic, and I'm at a cardiac arrest doing CPR on this dude, and my colleague, who was a new guy, said, "Oh, the spirit stood behind you. He can tell you to stop." So I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?" He goes, "Yeah, the spirit says he's not coming back, and it's his time, so you can stop doing your CPR on him." It's like, oh crap! Yeah, so
Wow.
that obviously that story is just a little bit longer, but I'll save it because it's about you tonight, not about me.
That's a really wild experience. Did that person say that they saw that frequently, or was that the one time?
No. Afterwards, he says, "Oh yeah, I'm a medium." Well, this
Oh.
would have been good to start the shift.
Yeah.
When have you got any hobbies rather than in the middle of a cardiac arrest? My response was, "Well, would you mind telling? I'm still doing CPR. Would you mind telling the spirit that I've got a job to do and I can't just?"
Yeah, tell the spirit they're going against our quota and they need to get back in the body.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, protocols. Yeah, standard operating procedures. So, how did Brandon and Mitch meet each other?
Sure. So we were both in the same paranormal investigation group, and I had been having the idea of Haunted US for a while, and there was one kind of crazy misadventure. I have to give you a little backstory on a van, believe it or not. We always traveled
Was it a
in
white
that
van
group.
that's got candy in the back?
Almost. I mean, it had paranormal investigation equipment. I feel like we could get more people with that anyway. But ultimately, this van, we frequently traveled long distances in this old van. And in this instance, we were heading down to Iowa. We were going to Edinburgh Manor. And Mitch was going to be meeting us halfway there and getting into the van. And just before we got off the freeway to get to Mitch, a tire exploded on the van. And we ended up on the side of the road. Long story short, Mitch and I ended up driving to Iowa together. And we didn't know each other very well at that time. And it kind of came up like, Oh yeah, I really like taking photos of these different haunted places, and I've been thinking about starting a website for that and telling the stories. And Mitch said, "Well, I'm a writer," and I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, I've written like 26 novels at this point." And was it 26 at that time?
I think it was 26 or 27 at the time.
Yeah. So Mitch is a very prolific writer. And I was like, well, what would you think of like coming on board and doing this thing? And he reluctantly agreed. And it's been harmony since.
So let's talk about this reluctance, Mitch.
It all makes sense now that you've talked to me for a little while, doesn't it?
Yeah, sort of like, yeah. Okay, I'm not going to slow the car down, but can you just open it and jump? So, Mitch, Brandon has kind of mentioned that you were a bit of a writer.
Yes.
So, can we have a quick synopsis of some of the stuff that you've written about, please?
Yeah. So I started writing seriously around the time I first started ghost hunting. So the two started at almost exactly the same time, but they were never intertwined for the very longest time. I was ghost hunting when I could initially, but I was writing crime thrillers and mysteries, things like that. Shorter novels to satiate my desire for more crime fiction in the world, because there's never enough of that. And so that's the way it went, basically all the way through college for me. And after a certain point, I just kind of started experimenting with more fiction genres. I published a sci-fi novel that was my first book to be anything other than self-published. It was published through a little press in Northern Ireland, and that was 2019, so that was 6 years ago now. And after that, I kind of stopped writing for a while. I worked in a hospital, so once 2020 came, I got pretty busy.
Yeah.
And most everything kind of fell away. But once that smoke cleared a little bit the following year, I got back into writing a little bit and into ghost hunting. That's when I joined the group that Brandon was a part of around that time. And I worked on another novel manuscript that I liked, but I never really did anything with. And right when I was wrapping that up and kind of thinking about what's the next big project that I should write about, is when we had that little tire snafu, and we ended up having that conversation about the possibility of haunted US.
Mm-hmm.
And I had always been like Brandon said, a very prolific writer who could really use just essentially a bottomless pit of subject matter to write about. And haunted locations over the span of an entire nation is a bottomless pit of content to write about.
Yeah, genuinely, we have almost 10,000 places that we have listed. So
Wow.
if we are done with that by the time we become ghosts, that will be incredibly impressive.
Yes, it's
That'll
basically
be the epilogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now I've got a lifetime of work ahead of me.
And you can blame Brandon for that.
Exactly.
Everyone does.
Yeah. So where did you start? Because like you say, you've got a country that's got 50 plus states. And it's like, did you start in your home state or did you decide to go somewhere completely random?
What was our first article, Mitch?
Okay, so there are a couple answers to this question. And so the very first answer is where did that start? And it started with, we had an idea and a lot of drive, but we didn't know how much structure we needed until we started. So we started.
Yeah.
And what the initial concept was to, visit all of these places research all of these places. And of course, we would start nearby. It was the easiest locations to start with were the ones essentially in our backyard. But through the wonders of research, internet research, calling locations, public libraries. If you reach out to a public library anywhere, they're happy to share some ghost stories about places in their community with you. They're very helpful. I was able to really expand the scope right away of what could possibly be written about. And so I just started writing on a concept I came up with of we're haunted US, so we want a broad amount of locations very quickly. So let's do 5 in each state. Just cover each state with 5 and start there. And so I wrote without much regard of how these are going to go or when they're going to publish, what they're going to look like when they get published. I just wrote, and I wrote about 150 of these things over the course of like 18 months. And of course, we gathered a lot of content from there.
Yep.
But then came the question of, what does publishing this content look like? What does being haunted US look like? And that's the public start, the start that people really see is the one where we forced structure onto this powerful passion to see spooky places.
And that was as cataclysmic as it sounds, forcing structure onto that passion. To put it onto a website, we had to figure out, what is that structure? And we ended up having to rewrite some of it. There was a lot of traveling to different locations and sourcing different stories and heavy research. And as a photographer on my side, a lot of, dusty, grimy places to go and get photos of to make these stories shine and not just be text on a screen and be something bigger that's beautiful and tells a story.
So I can kind of have the image in my head of Mitch, you're there writing all this down, and Brandon's going, well, I took my pictures 10 minutes ago. Come on. Can you speed things up a little bit?
Oh man, Mitch writes faster than I can travel and take photos.
And
Mitch is often ahead of me.
Find a new photo to take. So
yes.
It's plenty. There are plenty of times where we are sitting down just before an investigation where we're going to be spending 6, 8, 10 hours in the place. We're just talking with the owner, getting their stories and their histories and their anecdotes. That can take 2 to 3 hours by itself, just talking to them, taking notes, listening. And when I'm doing that for however long it takes, Brandon is always photographing something. There's always, there's the big hallway that you can get a photo of, but then there's the door, and then there's the window on the door that once the sun hits it just right, it's good. And then there's the door knob. It's got the patina on it. It really has that spooky vibe to it. So
you can tell he's been hanging out with me long enough. He's already composing the shots for our next location.
Yeah, I could just imagine that. Now,
oh yeah,
one of the places that I know that's extremely close to where you guys live, and I've seen it on a few TV shows, and it's a place that I want to visit, is Eloise.
Oh yeah.
Don't tell me that you haven't been there and you haven't written about it, because I'll be so disappointed.
We haven't been there and we haven't written about it.
No, but we are very aware of it, it is very on our radar.
Get out now, both of you. Go.
Sorry about that.
The one place that I picked.
Well, and the worst part is we were nearby and we got 10 or 15 places right around the corner from it.
I thought it was going to be the next half an hour of my chat.
Nope. Oh, you're going to have to cross out all those questions.
do it on the screen. Okay, but like I say, a place like Eloise is synonymous for hauntings.
Yeah.
And when you started collating all this information, did you just start off by going, okay, we're going to do it state by state? Because I noticed on the website that you've actually even broke it down into asylums or prisons or restaurants. So at what point did you realize that you wanted to break it down even further from states and then into specific like buildings and locations?
Yeah, so that was always an intention when I sat down with the idea initially and like Haunted US became a thing. It was because I was able to get out and start a list. And then I was thinking about what would be useful for me as a person who likes to read a haunted story. What would be useful for me in finding these places? Because I don't necessarily know everything that's in Arkansas, but I might know there's a haunted hotel in Arkansas that I want to know about, and that gets me right to the Crescent Hotel on the website. So it's all about kind of angling the matrix toward somebody who's searching for something, and we want people to be able to find that. In an ideal world, we would go even further with the data and you'd be able to link things even deeper, but for the time being, this is where it is, and it works really well.
So obviously you had like a checklist of places that you've heard about, you want to go and visit. We can now add Eloise to that list. But how many locations on the website have you actually been to?
A large majority of them. So I think at this point, just photographing, I've been to about 225 across 20 states. So I think that's probably a similar number for Mitch. I think, Mitch, you had some before that.
Yep.
But that's a vast majority of the ones on the website are there. And we do kind of prioritize the ones where we can visit, specifically because we can get that one-to-one interaction. We can actually talk with the owners. We can get photos that we know will be high quality and will tell the story well.
Yeah. Few people can get a good doorknob photo quite like Brandon. So,
hey, no one knows a knob like me.
No. I'm staying away from that. I'm totally staying away from that. So,
what, Lee? What is it?
You mean the American version or the English version? I'm just going to make you spit your drink out now, Brendan. So I'm going to ask the next question, but I'd like both of you to give me your own separate answer. In your own opinion, what clarifies a location as being haunted?
Mm.
And for the people listening, this is now stunned silence from both of them.
No, not stunned silence. Thoughtful rumination.
Don't you be using big words?
Yeah, I have to now. I've proven my foolishness this entire time. So for me, it's tough to say that anything is truly haunted. I'm a skeptic at heart. I really am. You would not believe that from the fact that I've spent the last 7 or 8 years traipsing around the US taking photos of spooky old buildings. But I would say that the things that make a place haunted are the stories of the people there. Because whether or not there is a force moving objects or showing up in front of people, or whether it is somebody misinterpreting the signs around them or being fooled by light of a passing car, whatever, those stories become an entity of their own, and they are something that people share and people think about and people freak themselves out with in these places. So they become a real thing. So I think that's all it takes to be haunted, is to have enough ghost stories.
Mitch, do you agree or do you beg to differ?
I agree. A place is made haunted by the stories that people have about it. I would expand on that and say it's not even just about the experiences that they have there, because obviously many ghost story comes from a piece of reality. After an asylum becomes known for neglect and abuse of its patients, once that place closes down, there's going to probably be a ghost story or two about that place simply due to that
Mhm.
very real history. Or a house that was owned by a serial killer is obviously going to have the ghost stories tied to the death and suffering that actually occurred. But
Mhm.
the beauty of a ghost story is it can come from a very specific something, and it can also come from a total absence of anything. And when I think of the earliest ghost stories I heard when I was a kid, the classic schoolyard ghost stories, they weren't about anything super specific. They weren't about a piece of history or a piece of well established knowledge. They were about the lack of knowledge. They were about the spaces you didn't see, the buildings you couldn't look inside of, the
Mm.
empty, spooky house or building that was surrounded in fencing and no trespassing signs, where the inside was a total mystery. The story of the building was a total mystery. And so the mind can fill in that gap with whatever, and many times people fill that gap with ghosts. And those cases are many times simply just fictional matter of the imagination cases, but even those fascinate me because they are a piece of culture, and that can in its own figurative sense haunt a place. And so it really is the figurative senses that make a place haunted ultimately. And if there are ever actually ghosts out there, well, that just makes it haunted with a capital H.
Yeah, and I do like what you've just said, because if people experience a paranormal event, 9 times out of 10, it's a personal experience.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's very rare do you get multiple people seeing the same thing. You
Mhm.
know, and all three of us can go to the same location and we can all experience something completely different that the other person didn't even realize was happening. And that's the key that I find with talking to all these different people. That it's that personal aspect of each and every different ghost story.
Yeah,
So
and we love that. That again,
yeah,
when we're driving all over the country, spending hours and hours in the car, when you end up somewhere and you have somebody just tell you like a 20-minute story and you drove all that way, the fact that it is so unique every time and they bring such a unique mindset to it, and you're talking to such different people. You're talking to a hotel owner, a museum curator. You're talking to an actor who's been at that theater for years, or a stage manager. And the difference in the stories, the difference in their perspective, the difference in their reaction to the ghost story. The yeah, I saw that and I ran out of the building, or the yep, we wave at the ghost every night and leave comfortably. Like, it is so interesting to get that myriad of different experiences and be able to share that.
yeah. Um, and before we go into some locations that hopefully you've been to, what have you guys ever experienced something that you'll never forget? What's your most compelling piece of evidence that you both had?
So we've had a few together. Mitch, do you want to take one? I'll take one.
Sure. Flashlight or light switch?
You take light switch.
Okay. So, if my mind does not deceive me, it was the year of our Lord 2022. We were deep in the jungles of Ohio, United States, Lancaster, a place called Fairfield County Infirmary.
Hmm.
Lovely place, former poor farm kind of building turned into a nursing home, and then was abandoned for a few years and is now a very popular and honestly very well kept
Yeah.
haunted location in central, basically central, south central Ohio. And we were there just getting started. We took a lot of time to set up. There were a good
Mhm.
few of us, probably six or seven of us at the time, and We took a good long while to set up. We got all of our cameras set up. We got our body cameras set up. We got our EVP recorders going. And we picked for the first couple of places, pretty much hot spots around the building to start doing EVP sessions. And we eventually made our way down to, I believe they called it the morgue. I wasn't precisely sold on its use as a morgue.
It was definitely food storage.
But it was decorated as a morgue. So,
same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a cow morgue if you think about it. So the morgue consisted of 2 rooms, one connected to the broader hallway that was kind of like a preparation room. It was a larger room, and then a smaller room off to the side that had a big kind of morgue table in it. And Brandon and myself were in this smaller room, and everybody else was in the main room. And everybody got sat down and acclimated, and it was all darkness, so everybody shut their flashlights off one by one. And all the flashlights went off, and we were about to start our EVP session, and the overhead light in the main room comes on. And at this point, it had been kind of a long time that Brandon and I had been sitting in this room waiting for everybody else to set up. And so I kind of annoyed, I said, who turned on the light? What do you need? And a few seconds of dead silence before somebody said, nobody did. Now it's going to be a whole thing. And yes, it was a whole thing. Because
it was a whole thing.
Nobody flipped the light switch. And yet everybody crowded around this very much flipped on, actively, physically flipped up light switch in a room full of people. This light switch seemingly flipped upwards by itself.
And initially they thought that in the other room that Mitch and I were in, there was another light switch, and they thought we had flipped it on. And we had to bring them in the room, but there's no light switch in here.
So there are handheld cameras. Everybody has a body camera. So there are probably a dozen cameras in this room when this happens. And so we spend about the next 2.5 hours going through footage and checking angles very closely to try and determine, what happened. Did somebody nudge it? Was it kind of partially up already? Is it possible for this particular model of electrical component to do that kind of thing? We got
to put that into context, it was also one of those really heavy duty, like industrial lights where it's like ka-chunk when you turn it on.
Right.
And we had gotten it to the point where we had Googled the model number of the light switch to see if this was like a known defect.
Basically call the local Ace Hardware and be like, listen, you're our ghost hunting partner tonight. But ultimately we couldn't figure out whether it was caused by anything normal. And so I personally stamp it with my big red imaginary stamp that says it remains unexplained.
And that's the good thing about a reliable paranormal investigator. We're not saying 100% that this is a ghost. We are saying this is unexplained. And the unexplained pile of people just gets bigger and bigger and bigger because we can't explain it. We've tried to debunk everything we possibly can, and we've been unable to. So it stays on that unexplained pile. There's a lot of stuff that we can, but this big pile is getting bigger and bigger, but as each day goes by, of the stuff that we can't explain.
Well, I think it's important that your methodology for explaining gets bigger and bigger too, right? Before I started being interested in paranormal investigation, I didn't know that when you closed a door in a house, you created a negative airflow that would possibly move another door, or that wood, when it's heated and cooled, can release scents because it's porous. Those sorts of things are things that you learn as you go into this, and the more that you can debunk, the more impressive the things that you can't debunk become. So yeah,
and that's interesting because when people call us out and say, every time I'm in bed I experience apparitions, and we go, do you have an alarm clock by the side of your bed? Yes. Is it an old one or a modern one? Oh, it's an old one. Oh, yeah. And you find out that it's got some loose wires and it's giving off large quantities of EMF. Well, let's take that away from the equation. Let's see if you still have
Mm-hmm.
these apparitions. Oh no, it's all stopped now. So there are definite natural phenomena that anybody that's in the game for the right reasons
Mm-hmm.
will go through before they see or before they say, "Yep, this is a white sheep with two holes cut in. This is one of those ghost things."
Yeah, actually, in that old paranormal investigation group that Mitch and I were both in, the first thing that we would prescribe to someone who thinks that they're being haunted was the greatest piece of paranormal investigation gear, and that's a notebook. Write down when it happens, write down the situation you're in, and see if there's a pattern. Because you know
Yeah,
what? If it turns out that the things in your house rattle when the train goes by, that's very explainable. And that's something
exactly.
we can bring and teach people about
Yeah,
instead of necessarily saying, "Oh, it's definitely a demon."
I'll say, and even as each day goes by, more science is coming out,
Mm-hmm.
and there's definite devices that we can use now to prove that things are of a natural nature rather than paranormal nature. And if you're in the, like say, if you're in the game for the right reasons, you've got to prove to people that there are natural phenomena that can debunk a paranormal activity.
Exactly. Yeah, you were
So,
right on the money.
so Brandon, your story.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about the Lincoln Tallman House. This is actually in Mitch's hometown of Janesville. And Mitch had tried to get into this place for what, 13, 14 years?
12, actually.
12. Sorry. I was
Yes.
giving you way too much credit there. So finally, Haunted US is happening. We have some kind of credibility behind us. There's a website we can show articles and say, hey, here are the high quality things we do. And Lincoln Tallman House comes into the conversation and they finally say yes. So this is a big deal. We're so excited for this night. And we are actually there with the local newspaper. And so we're taking them through, we're kind of doing a little investigation. For the record, we don't consider ourselves an investigation team. We do sometimes investigate, but that's more for our fun and our curiosity. But we consider ourselves, more a publication. But we're there with the news crew, and we're in this upper hallway, and we were looking at an EMF meter, and there had been this cold breeze that Mitch felt. Turned out to be totally explainable. Old windows. It was a snowstorm that night. And as this is happening, I go to click on my flashlight. Now this is I'm gonna say this. This is on like the Ghost Hunters bingo card. I had just changed the batteries. I did, though. And I go to click it on. It is, yeah, exactly. It's one of those LED flashlights. It has a recessed button, so you have to press in to click it. It's not half unscrewed or anything like that. I click it on and nothing happens. I click it again, nothing happens. Click it a third time, nothing happens. And I say, okay, well, I guess I don't have a flashlight. I click it off and I put it in my back pocket. And I think, I'm a ghost hunter. I'm here to be in the dark anyway. So totally fine. About 5 minutes go past. We're back into an EVP session. There are people situated throughout the room, and all of a sudden everybody gasps. And I'm like, what did I miss? What happened that I missed? And I look up and there's this bright light on the ceiling, and I realize the flashlight in my back pocket had turned on. Again, this is a recessed button. So something has to go into a space to click it. And that didn't happen in my back pocket. So I pull it out and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And I click it off and I set it on the stairs next to me. And I said, hey, listen, if you turned on that flashlight, turn it on again and you can have it. So now it's sitting about 5-10 feet away from me and everybody else. And we are back into the EVP session, not even thinking about it anymore. And it clicks on. We hear the click of it clicking on, and it lights up. And that flashlight still lives at the Lincoln Tallman House to this day. So They like that flashlight. They can have it. I hope they click it on and off for people all the time.
And if you've got a rational head on your shoulders, you're going to try and debunk that as much as you can. So if you've got a bit of a knobbly butt, it's not going to be knobbly enough to push that on.
And I do have a knobbly butt, Lee. I really do. But it's not that knobbly.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. So, Mitch, I'm just going to talk to you. but that's the thing. If you need to push it in and you can't do it just by having it in your pocket, like you put your cell phone in your pocket and you can butt dial people, and these are touch screen devices. But if it's got something like that, how can you explain it? And all these people out here that like to debunk stuff, okay, put it in your pocket and switch it on.
Yeah, without touching it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was just so strange, and genuinely, I can't explain it. Was it a ghost? I can't say, but certainly can't explain it. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
we've had a bunch of others too. There have been a few places where we've genuinely seen people who should not have been where a person was seen. In fact, another Wisconsin place, the Brumder Mansion, it was about 3 a.m. We were cleaning up after a public investigation, and I was going up to the third floor to break down some equipment. And the third floor, it was an old servant's wing. So there's one stairwell up there. It's on the back of the building, and there's only one entrance and exit, which is this stairwell. Once you hit the landing of the floor, it is one long hallway and 2 doors at the end. And so I get to the landing and I turn and I see a woman walk between the 2 rooms. And I think, oh, somebody left a purse, somebody left a wallet or a phone or something. I'm going to go help them get this and help them see them out of the building so that we don't get in trouble, because no one else is supposed to be in here but us right now. I walk down to the end of the hallway and I walk into one of the other rooms, which the only way out of that room other than that door was a 3-story drop, and there was no one there. So it's another instance of like, I know I saw somebody, but man, they sure weren't there.
And I assume that you did check out the window to make sure there wasn't anybody.
Yeah, we didn't find any corpses in the morning. So at least none that we didn't expect.
That's always a good thing. That's always a good thing. So obviously the US is a big place.
It is.
And you've got 50 plus states. You've only been to half of them. So if you could pick one of the places that you visited that stands out in your mind as a place that you would love to go back, where would it be?
Mitch, why don't you go first? I feel like I've been talking a lot.
Because Brandon can't think of a place. That's why you're going first, Mitch.
Wow, Lee, just pull the mask off. Jeez.
Well, honestly, it's an easy answer because there are so many places I would be happy to go back to that I pretty much have a running list of places I'm always happy to go back to that I can always happen to pick out and say is first for the day. So the easy first for the day is the Mabel Tainter Theater up in northern Wisconsin. And I like that place simply because it is, the most meticulously well-maintained historic building I've ever encountered in all of our travels anywhere. It's the building is entirely, of course, the exterior is original, but you go in, the windows are exterior, the heating system, the radiators are all original to around 1890 when the building was built. The plumbing system is original to 1890. I don't believe the actual water fountain had been invented yet, but they had kind of food. You can drink from this actual fountains, and those were all still there and fully functional. They had even a couple of light bulbs that they said were fully original to when the building opened. And of course, all of the theater seating, the drapery, the upholstery was all fully and meticulously maintained from its 1890 original. So it really was and always is like walking 130 years back in time.
Cool.
And so for someone who's predominantly a researcher, it stands out when the research is literally just still there and alive, like it always has been for a century. But I will cheat a little bit and add a second one simply because we've covered a couple of Wisconsin places, and I'd love to cover another place that's always stands out to me, and that's the Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa. It's a very, very, very far flung little town in a very rural area of the United States. You get off the main interstate, the major highway in the country, and it's about another 100 miles just through nothing to get to this little town. And it's the site of, I think, one of the biggest murders in the state's history still. A family of six and two other neighbor girls. So eight people were killed in this one tiny little house.
Mm-hmm.
And that one stood out to me because I had happened to visit there right after a team of not ghost hunters, but crime scene investigators who were still trying to solve the crime because it remains unsolved who killed these people. And there was a team of crime scene investigators trying to do their best to solve a 115-year-old murder at the time. And they had sprayed what's called luminol all over the house. Luminol, I don't know what it does precisely, kind of binds with the contents of dried blood and makes it shine under black light. So being diligent and equipment heavy ghost hunters, what did we have? We had black lights. And there's still a whole lot of sign of that very old murder in that house if you have the right tools. And going into the Mabel Tainter Theater is one really interesting and vivid way to experience history coming alive. Spraying luminol in the Villisca Axe Murder House is another way to make history come alive. And so always shouts out to those two places.
That's pretty cool. Okay, Brandon, beat that.
Oh no! Why you can't pit us against each other?
I can, and I am.
Oh no, Lee, no. So recently, I had the opportunity to fly down to Nevada and just do a road trip through as many of the haunted places there as I could. I actually photographed, I want to say, 19 places while I was there over a couple of days, which was wild. It was so much fun. And I'm also gonna cheat a little bit here since Mitch cheated. Yeah, I know. Hey man, we fight dirty. We fight dirty at Haunted US.
I guess so.
Virginia City, I'd have to say, really all of Virginia City. And in the same way that Mabel Tainter has that history right there in front of you, Virginia City also has that with the McKee building, with the Old Washoe Club. I actually stayed in a room at the Silver Queen Hotel, which was horrifying, and the Gold Hill Hotel, all of those right there. I mean, the Bloody Bucket. There are so many haunted places in walking distance of each other. It's almost comical for a ghost hunter. So honestly, being there was such an experience. I will say this: I did not have a single weird thing happen to me the entire time I was there, but man, did I get a lot of good photos.
And that's kind of, yeah, it's kind of cool, but it's also kind of disappointing because, people always expect things to happen. And one thing that I found is it seems to be a lot easier to go to locations in the US compared to Canada because there's a lot of red tape over here. And some of these locations are really quite expensive to go to.
Oh.
Whereas we went to a small place called Casanova in New York State. It's about an hour and a half over the border. And it was the Brer Lock Inn. And it's a nice Scottish themed hotel, very oldie worldy. It's a huge, huge location. And the owners gave us the full run of the entire building.
Wow.
It's still an operational hotel, and the bar closed at midnight. But she says, yeah, if you want to come down and stay downstairs for the entire evening, be my guest.
Wow.
And we walked in and we're just setting up a couple of cameras. There's two rooms that are supposed to be the most haunted. So we rented both of them. There was three of us, two guys in one room and I'm in another. And we're just setting up tripods. And this cabinet door just creaked open. Being the skeptical kind of people, we go, okay, well, yeah, it must have just been on the edge. So we tinkered with it. We moved it. We banged on the desk. We stamped on the floor. We banged the sides of it. We moved the catch to as close as we could to open it, put it fully, and we could not get that cupboard door to open.
Wow.
So lesson learned: as soon as you walk into a building, make sure you've got a recording device on, because we didn't, so we don't have that.
Yep.
And that's what it's interesting to go into the procedure that people do when they go to these locations, because some of these locations, like I mentioned Eloise, it's got such a big history of hauntings. Waverly Hills is another one. Have you guys happened to been there?
Yep.
I have not. Mitch may have.
So again, I'm going to talk to you, Mitch.
Long time ago.
But yeah, and that's another location that's got so much history and so many stories. So out of all the places that you haven't been to, and Brandon, you can't mention Eloise and you can't mention Waverly Hills, do you have a number one bucket list location to go to?
For me, I think it's the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. That is a huge, gorgeous old Kirkbride building. And man, a lot of people see that building and they think, I'm going to go there and find ghosts. I just want to get in there with a camera. Oh, so bad. I want every doorknob in that building.
I was going to mention the doorknobs. I was going to say, I wonder how many doorknobs it's got.
Oh, thousands, I'd bet. More for my collection. You can't see it behind me here. There's a huge wall of doorknobs. So
he's not lying, is he, Mitch?
No, and they all open something somewhere in the world, but it's a mystery.
It's unexplained.
Yeah.
So that place is also on our bucket list, because there's so many different locations that you can go to.
Yeah. Let us know when you come down. We should go split the bill.
That sounds like an awesome idea. I will definitely take you up on that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Mitch, bucket list number one.
Number one. Well, excluding Trans-Allegheny, because that would certainly be up there, but I won't repeat a selection. Gosh, I would have to pick the Hotel del Coronado in California. It's one of those places that is not, it's not known for being overrun with all these ghosts, but the ghosts it does have, the stories are very clear, the identities are very clear. You know who you're trying to communicate with, who supposedly haunts there, and they have a very long and involved, almost kind of romanticized story about themselves. And it's a fascinating place historically. It's a interesting place ghost story wise, and then it's fascinating architecturally. It's very interesting to look at, and it's a beautiful building in a
really
beautiful area of California. And I recently just happened upon sort of sketch drawing someone did of it in a thrift store in Wisconsin. I just happened upon someone's very old drawing of the Hotel del Coronado, one of my bucket list locations that I haven't been to. So of course I had to buy this thing, and it's been hanging on my wall, and I look at it every day, and it nags at me. I should get there.
Yeah,
Mitch, we got to get out to California, man.
I will carry your luggage for you, gentlemen.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I can always tell how good a podcast is by how long it we've been talking and we're currently at an hour, so I'm going to keep it going a little bit longer because,
Sure.
like, Mitch is great to talk to.
Hey, you're not wrong. He is.
It's almost like I can talk for two people.
Yeah.
And I'm here too.
Yes. So, if you guys had to pick one specific type of location, a jail, asylum, a hospital, a hotel, which would you say is potentially the most haunted?
I'm going to say hotel. And I know that's going to be controversial. But hotels, because with an asylum you have people there long term. With a sanatorium you have people there long term. Hospital, kind of similar, but hotels are a place of anonymity for a lot of people, and a lot of people coming for very short amounts of time. So there are massive droves, especially if it's a popular hotel. Recently I stayed at the Brown Palace in Denver, and seeing the sheer number of rooms in that building and knowing that likely most of them were full, it was mind-boggling. So the thought that all of that energy, all of those people could move through a space, have experiences, be really sad, really happy, die sometimes. Like deaths occur in hotels fairly frequently, whether self-inflicted or otherwise. That it's a very unfortunately likely place to pass away.
This isn't hotels that you're staying at that particular time, is it?
I mean, the police haven't found a pattern that they can follow.
Okay, that's good.
So, being outed as a serial killer on a podcast, it's so faux pas. But
Mitch told me to say that.
Oh, did he? Yeah. Wow. Hey, I'm at most of those hotels with him at this point. So yeah, ultimately I would say hotels, just because of the sheer throughput of human energy.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, Mitch, over to you.
Kind of places that are usually most haunted. I would probably have to say specifically hospitals, specifically city hospitals more often than not. Because, similar to Brandon's reasoning for hotels, a lot of the other kinds of hospitals out there, nursing homes, asylums, they are long-term chronic care facilities.
Mm-hmm.
And the people are there for a very long time. And an asylum might have, 1,000 rooms in it that are full, but the people in those rooms aren't cycling at the same rate as, say, an emergency rooms are. And so if you've got a city hospital building that's seen patients for 50, 60, 70 years or longer, you're talking incalculable numbers of people, and whether or not they died there, very likely incalculable amounts of human suffering. Nobody goes to the hospital because it's fun. They go there because they're sick, they're not feeling good, they are injured, they are experiencing some serious trauma in their life, some impactful trauma in their life. And if you believe that locations can absorb energy, imagine that energy from one of those moments multiplied by, depending on the size of the hospital, a dozen or 2 dozen or more a day.
Yeah.
And you've got a recipe for, if you believe in hauntings, the most haunted place around. And I think that there are a lot of things I say that are, if you subscribe to believing in hauntings, like the little asterisk that says, if ghosts are real, if hauntings are real. But if you're someone who subscribes to believing that they are, it would make sense that the suddenness of death could matter. And, if I'm subscribing to the belief that ghosts are in fact real, that places are truly and honestly haunted, then I would honestly believe that it does matter. And a lot of these other kinds of locations, the nursing homes, the sanitariums, the asylums, people age in these places, and they die as a result of age a lot of the time, or they die as a result of tuberculosis or the reason that they're in the sanitarium, but they die slowly and knowingly. When you go to a critical care hospital, you could have started your day perfectly normally that day, and then you go to the hospital and you don't leave, and that's just that. And I think the idea of death just being that very sudden thing, and these kinds of hospitals being the source of this kind of thing, the main, essentially the place where that kind of death happens 9 times out of 10, would make them especially or exceptionally haunted.
And I think what you both said is really important, because if you've got a location, whether it be a hospital, a sanitarium, a warship, a theatre, a hotel, you've got a lot of capacity of individuals that have come and gone. Some have died, some have been born in hospitals, etc., etc. And I think it's interesting that even though people say that my private dwelling is haunted, a lot of the time you can debunk that due to natural phenomena, because the individual doesn't quite know what's going on in their own home with regard to electromagnetic fields or black mold, for example. So the fact that these locations have a high quantity of turnover, whether it be good or bad, I think that it is important to realise that these locations are probably going to get the most activity, because you can go to a battleship that served in World War II. You've got a lot of death. Maybe you've got a lot of spirits still there for whatever reason, and you can say the same about all these different locations. And I think that's really interesting for people to grasp onto. That is, don't concentrate on the small locations. It's sometimes going to be the bigger ones where you can get many different examples of paranormal activity, if they do exist. But I did interview a guy a few months ago who lives in Seattle, who experienced 2 or 3 years of paranormal activity. So I'm not saying that it doesn't happen in a private dwelling, but it's just more rare, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the varieties of ghost stories that come from each kind of place tends to differ. And that, I think, is what makes the Hotel del Coronado's very vivid and specific ghost stories kind of exceptional, because hotels are very come and go places. They see a lot of people, they see a lot of traffic, and the places that see a lot of traffic have the ghost stories. They start individually, but they snowball into broader kind of, once 20 people have experienced hearing ghostly footsteps in a place, one might hear them on the stage of a theater, another might hear them in the aisle. To some people it might sound like high heels, to others it might sound like boots. But once dozens of people have these experiences, it becomes phantom footsteps is what it is. It's and it comes down to who individually you're speaking to about it, which story you get. And then with the private dwellings and things, because there are certainly a lot of places with a lot of history and a lot of potential to be haunted, that are not accessible to the general public at any given time. But those stories, you really generally only have the people who are living there, or the people who do have the access, a much smaller pool of stories. And so you're going to get only the really specific individual ones. And it creates a different kind of, informational atmosphere, at least between the two different kinds.
And we have two jails that are local to us, both of them about an hour away. And at one of them, I've had multiple EVPs that we cannot explain. And we've had the sound waves tested, and this is your voice and this is what you heard, and two completely separate. And then another one, I actually got stroked on the side of the face. but I was in a sterile room that was being redecorated. So there was decorated sheets and boards on the floor, and it had got whitewashed walls. So, and the decorators had been in that day, so there wasn't any time for spiders or anything to make a web. And yeah, just got a nice little stroke down the side of my
Oh
face.
wow, well, that's fun.
Yeah, and it's like I was so excited. I thought I've been touched. So yeah, we do. Yeah, I know that we've mentioned hotels, and I know we was offline talking about the place that we visited a few months ago, Casanova.
Yeah.
So I told you about the cupboard door, but I actually saw what I think is an apparition. I can't prove it. I was the only person in the room. So, old-fashioned four-poster bed. You've got the old-fashioned blankets on. So, as you know, that when you crawl into bed in these type of beds, you can feel the blankets settle. Once you've got your comfortable position, you know, if you've created a space, then the blanket will settle. So that happened. Didn't think anything of it. And then about 30 seconds later, so yeah, 2 o'clock in the morning, hadn't been in bed for more than 2 or 3 minutes max. Really heavy sensation on the bed, to the point where I thought that one of the guys had come in, not that I heard the door, and sat on the bed. Opened my eyes and I saw this white thing go past me. Wow. And it's like, what did I just see? My first instinct was I need to go and grab my cell phone to record it, and it had gone.
Oh wow!
So I know I wasn't.
You said white thing. Do you have like a size, a shape that this took?
Now this is really weird because there was lace over the top of the four-poster bed. This was the second night that I'd stayed in it. At no time during any previous time during the day or the night that we were investigating did this lace move. There was no open windows. We turned the air conditioning off because obviously you can't do an investigation with your air conditioning going.
Yeah.
So I know that it wasn't the lace that was moving, and it just looked like somebody had got a white piece of card and just kind of walked in front of it. And it was like, can I explain that? No. Have I got any witnesses? No. But I know that I saw something, but I don't know what I saw. And I felt the sensation of somebody sitting down on the bed, and it was a heavy sensation. It wasn't like the blanket settling, because that's a nice light sensation. This was a heavy sensation, like somebody had sat on the bed. And then I opened my eyes and I saw this white thing go past me.
Wow. How did you sleep that night?
Perfectly.
Yep. Good. That is when you know you've been doing this long enough, when you can have an experience like that and you're like, no, I'm tired. I'm going to bed now.
Yeah. It's like, yep, screw you. Get it done. Get it over and done with. It's bedtime.
Yeah. Haunt me in the morning. I'm busy now.
Exactly. And it's weird that, well, I was really pleased that it happened because I could experience it and I can tell people, I've got a story for this location. And we have I'm not a fan of orbs by any way, shape or form. And one of our guys was doing a solo, and me and my other colleague was in the toilet where the NVR was, because it was the only other room. Don't go there. It was the only other room where we could set stuff up, and the door was closed, and we're watching it, and we'd got like 5 or 6 different cameras, and then this massive orb, and it was huge, came spiraling down from the ceiling. So our immediate thought was it a moth? Was it a bug? But we hadn't seen any insects in the building the entire weekend. Was it a particle of dust? No, because it was too big. And was it a flake of paint from the ceiling? Well, if there was, there'd be evidence on the floor. And there was nothing. And it's really weird that this happened. And we sort of like, oh my God, what was that? While this guy was doing his solo. And we cannot explain it. Yeah, some people go, well, it was a flake of paint. Well, yeah, it was a wooden floor. There would be a flake of paint on the floor. If it was a big moth, we would have seen it flying around elsewhere. If you move the curtain and it takes off. So there was nothing that we could put down to what this was.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that's really strange.
Well, we'll be adding this place to our list.
I will send you some details. It's not far from Chicago-ish area to New York
Fair.
State. What's that? 3 hours, 4 hours? I don't know.
A little more than
12.
that. Yeah.
But depends how fast you walk, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's 3 hours with 2 jet engines.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's nothing. So, gentlemen, I know that you've got something exciting to tell us.
We do. We
Yes,
do.
we do.
I actually have a copy of it with me.
How convenient.
Yeah,
really
it's almost like this was planned. So
No.
we have written a book. It's 30 Haunted Nights in Wisconsin. You should get your copy. It's going to be out on August 18th, available on Amazon. This is our first book. It is actually my first book. Mitch is like almost 30th. But this is
30th.
It is your 30th. Oh,
Yes.
the irony.
Yeah.
Mitch,
This is
can
your
we have a
golden-
little bit more enthusiasm, please?
No, the enthusiasm comes with the third. The slow drawl comes with the 30th.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a huge journey doing that, and really shockingly different than working on the website, working on the book, because what we would do is line it up by regions in the Wisconsin state and drive out there and just get everything in an area and do not only haunted locations but oddities in the area, so things like the Hodag and the Dr. Evermore's Forevertron, those sorts of things that are in Wisconsin and are just really interesting, and you should stop and see them alongside all of the haunted places. And actually, a couple of places we mentioned here tonight, the Mabel Tainter, the Brumder Mansion, those are in the book. So if you want to learn more about those, pick up a copy.
And where else can people find you?
Oh, man, we are available at hauntedus.com, believe it or not. And we are at hauntedus on almost every social platform. We publish a new deep dive article into a haunted location every Thursday. We also have a podcast, The Haunted Atlas, which comes out every other Tuesday. And that is also on every podcast platform you could hope for. Perfect.
So just to finish off then, guys, apart from this new book that everybody needs to go out and buy, what's next on the agenda for Haunted US?
Oh man, more travel, more locations. We're going to be going in September down through Illinois and getting the first round of places for our next book. And
did you know about the next book, Mitch?
I did. Yes.
Okay.
I am reluctantly ready for it.
I think we both are. It was a long year.
So,
a lot of road time.
is your next book going to be a different state or?
Yep. Yeah, believe it or not, Illinois.
No, that's just down the road.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, start with the close ones first.
less traveling.
Yeah, that, and we're headed down to Pythian Castle, and then in November, I'm going to be heading down to Savannah, Georgia, and trying to photograph every place in Georgia that I can get my hands on.
Yep, and we will also have a public event for people in the general Chicagoland area. They're probably familiar with interestingly named town named Sandwich, Illinois, just outside of Chicago.
I know where that is.
Really?
Well, you should come down Halloween night because we're having a public paranormal investigation there, and tickets are on sale now.
Yep,
I'll see
October
what I can do.
31st.
I'm in
Halloween
Winnipeg
night.
the week before, I think, doing a convention. So I'll see.
Nice.
I'll see.
Excellent.
Come on down.
I expect to be like wined and dined.
Oh, happily.
Absolutely. And the location's perfect for it. The Sandwich Opera House. Very interesting location, lots of interesting ghost stories. So if anyone is in the area and wants to have a an evening of ghost hunting with Haunted US, then this Halloween's the time to do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure. We've not had any laughs at all. It's
No,
been
not
really,
one.
really boring and maintained.
Yeah.
But it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you both. Hopefully we can do it again soon, because I think we've only touched the tip of the iceberg with all the different locations.
Yeah.
So-
Absolutely.
Many
We'll
more-
actually have been to some of the ones you ask about next time.
Yeah.
Can I have that in writing, please?
Yeah. You need to let us know beforehand which ones you're going to ask about so we can get those on our itinerary.
I'll let you know a week before.
Perfect.
Okay, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you
Thanks
for
very
having
much
us
for your time.
on. Yeah, this is great.
You're most
This is
welcome.
great.
Okay. You have a great rest of the evening. Take care.
You as well, Lee.
Okay, bye-bye.